After your clarification questions, you should ask for time to structure your approach to solve the problem presented by the client. Every case interview will require you to structure the approach to the problem. Structuring is the bread and butter of a consultant and a skill that must be strong in every hire consulting firms make. Given what you have learned about the client and its problem, I invite you to take 3 minutes to structure your approach. Pause the video, get your pen and paper ready, and time yourself for 3 minutes maximum. Time's up. Don't worry if you couldn't finish the structure this time. You will definitely get better with practice. Now let's take a look at how our candidate would present their structure to the interviewer.
Thank you for waiting, Flavio. Our client wants to understand what's causing the increase in their order fulfillment time. It's most likely an operational issue, so I'm looking for a bottleneck here. I'm not an expert, but I believe we should focus on the full process of producing industrial tubes by examining 3 different levels of the process. It starts with the inbound logistics, or the supplies coming to our factory. Then we move on to manufacturing, transforming the supplies into oil and gas tubes. And lastly, we have the outbound logistics, or the distribution of the finalized product to customers. Let's break it down a bit further. For the inbound supplies, I thought about 3 sub-stages. First is the receiving of the raw materials, second is storing the raw materials, and third is retrieving the raw materials in our storage for production. The manufacturing stage probably has many steps. Again, I have no past experience with industrial tube production, but I will use some logic here. Please correct me if I'm wrong about any of this. First is cutting the steel plates that the client buys. I imagine the plates are then bent into tubes with different diameters. Next, they should be welded. Then they are finished, maybe there is some polishing of sorts. Finally, they are probably cut into specific lengths for each client. Lastly, in distribution, I thought of 3 different stages where we could be experiencing issues. First is the storing of the finalized tubes. Second is the loading of the transport. And third would be unloading at the customer site. Given all these possibilities, my focus would be on manufacturing, as I believe it to be the most likely bottleneck in the process. Maybe our factories are not capable of producing enough tubes to meet the demand that we had seen in that first graph you've shown me. Do you have information about the capacity utilization of those rough steps?
Let's stop for a moment here. Our client has given us a very in-depth structure that includes all parts of the process that could present a potential issue and therefore be the origin of the problem. He ensures that the components are non-overlapping and cover the entire process end-to-end. That follows the principle of MISI, mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. You should always keep it in mind. We learn a lot more about the application of this principle in the full bootcamp. Also, notice how our candidate is communicating this structure. He's always numbering each of the steps. This is very important because your interviewer won't clearly see what you are writing, so their understanding of the structure relies solely on your ability to communicate in an organized way. The candidate also does something essential, which is to state the next steps at the end of the presentation, showing he is able to drive the case forward. Thank you for sharing your approach, Philip. The client has provided us with a few more pointers. Nothing has changed in the maximum capacity of the manufacturing process. However, as you've seen, demand has increased very fast. And as a result, the client is operating at 100% capacity utilization. The entire manufacturing process can be considered the bottleneck of this operation. What would you do next?
Thank you for the additional info, Flavio. It confirms my hypothesis that there is a problem in the manufacturing stage. Please allow me to gather my thoughts and structure what could be happening in the manufacturing stage more precisely.
Our candidate has found that he needs to go deeper into the possible root causes of the bottleneck in the manufacturing process. Remember, structuring is a tool. You may need it more than once during a case interview. Now take 3 more minutes and practice structuring your approach for the question once again. Remember, we want to look into the possible root causes in manufacturing for the issue with the order fulfillment time. Time's up. Now let's see how our candidate has structured this problem.
Thank you once again for your time, Flavio. To isolate the root causes of the manufacturing bottleneck, I'll divide the manufacturing process into 4 dimensions. 1. The people involved in manufacturing. 2. The machinery. 3. The process. 4. The supplies. For the people, I have 6 different hypotheses. People might be inept for the job. The factory might be understaffed and need more people. The staff may not be trained enough. They may not be properly coordinated and supervised. They may be under-equipped and not have the tools to do the work properly. And lastly, they might lack motivation to do their job. For the machinery, I may be experiencing 2 main types of issues. First is the number of machines they have. Maybe we are using all machines at full capacity, or perhaps some machines are broken and completely out of the game. Second, the output per machine might be suboptimal. I would like to check their maximum yield, which depends on the technology and other factors as well. Then, I would like to check the actual current utilization and see if they have too much downtime, the period when perfectly fine machines are not producing. Downtime might be related to preparing the machine for production, factory hours, maintenance, energy interruptions, and other factors. For the process, I imagine 2 types of issues. First, there are no formal logical processes, causing enormous inefficiencies. But it's more likely that there is a process, but it's poor due to 4 potential reasons. Missing steps. Excessive steps, meaning there will be waste in some part of the process. The steps are designed in the wrong order. Lack of backup processes when things don't go according to plan. And finally, for the supplies, there are again 2 possible families of issues. The first would be their quality, which could cause waste and rework, leading to delays. Maybe the increase in volume is compromising the quality, although this is less likely because steel is a very standard commodity. The second issue would be the timing of the supplies. Delays here will likely directly impact our order fulfillment time if we don't have an inventory.
Once again, our candidate has communicated the structure concisely, focusing on explaining only what's important. Remember, you don't need to explain every single topic of your structure in too much detail. Your interviewer has probably applied the case countless times and knows what you mean most of the time. All right, Philip, what information would you like to see first?